Well, good evening, y'all. You know, I have to say something about this whole leaked Trump phone call thing. I have to. Welcome to the Candids series, where it's just as it sounds. Candid, unscripted, right in the moment, because it's something that just needs to be talked about right now. So, let's get into this. I've seen so much stuff being passed around, so much stuff in the media, so much stuff on social media and Facebook and just people I know and the stuff that they're posting and looking at their comments and the things they're saying. And I knew something had to be off on it. I just knew it. So when the story was originally released, it was 4 minutes of audio that was put out, and it made Trump look bad. And just like a lot of and I'm sorry, I know that this is going to piss a lot of people off, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. But a lot of these police involved shootings that have occurred, that have spread violence and protests and so forth in various areas around the country. When you actually wait and look at the context is not what the narrative originally was. But that's ignored. And I didn't want to say anything in this until I heard the context as well. Now, if Trump said something terrible, I'll call the guy out on it. You have to understand, I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a Democrat. Okay, and Trump is not my savior. Do I think he was a great president? I think he was. I think he did a lot of things well, and I think he did some things wrong that I'm not pleased with him with it. And I don't think he's been particularly, as myself as a 2A, advocate, I don't think he's been particularly friendly to the Second Amendment with some of the things that he's done as well. However, he made promises, he's kept promises, he's done a lot of great things. Incredible, profound peace deals over and over and over. I mean, nominated many times over for a Nobel Peace Prize, bringing troops. I mean, he's done some great things. So that I digress with that. But just to lay a little bit of context, that I'm not sitting here as an ultra Trumper just saying, I'm going to defend the man no matter what. And if he goes out and strangles a kitten, I'm going to say, well, it doesn't matter. The kitten probably deserved it. I try to still be objective, even though I do, yes. Would I like to see Trump for another term? Absolutely. Do I think he's a much better president than Joe Biden? 100%. 100%. And he's not, well, things about Biden, we'll get into in a different video. But I just needed to say some things about this, so I'll just kind of go through it pretty quick. So here's what we found out once the full audio was released, because originally it was just 4 minutes or so that was released, and then eventually they released the full audio. Once we heard the full audio, and I do consider myself pretty knowledgeable on this stuff. I've listened to over 42 hours of live Senate judicial hearings, with Rudy Giuliani and various people on the Trump team in Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona and Nevada and so forth when they were having these meetings. I listened to every one of them from start to finish. I took notes. So I do feel that I understand this stuff pretty well, and definitely now I'm not, an expert, but I definitely feel like I understand it better than just the average person, and especially, without question, I understand it better than people that just get their information from the mainstream media. And that can be easy to prove. So basically what we get when we actually listen to the entire phone call in context, everything that the Democrats were saying, it's a big nothing burger. I mean, it really is. It's nothing. It was nothing. And in fact, if anything, in certain ways, it actually made Georgia look bad. Okay. The Democrats, they've gone crazy saying, we need to impeach Trump. He's trying to overturn the election. The media's going crazy on it. The politicians are going crazy on it. People on Facebook are going crazy on it. But here's the thing. The Trump team has evidence that is literally being ignored. And I will tell you, I have pages written out, mountains of evidence. Now remember, evidence is not proof. I'm not saying they have these proofs. I'm saying they have evidences, and evidences suggest that there is something that needs to be looked at. It is a suggestion of something bigger, right? That the evidence points to. And the Secretary of State of Georgia, he won't release data. He won't let them see it. so they can actually see for themselves. All of these lawsuits that Trump has been doing, and I'll mention that really in a moment here, but all these lawsuits, guys, you have to understand, they were not thrown out or rejected because of the content of the lawsuit. They were thrown out because of procedural issues. In fact, in one, I think it was in Pennsylvania, before the vote happened, the Trump team put in a lawsuit because of things that were unconstitutional in the way the vote was being done in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania told them, well, you can't do anything because just like a defamation suit, you can't sue until something actually happens and it hurts you because of it. And then you can sue. So as soon as the vote happened, then they went ahead and did the lawsuit, and the court said, well, you should have sued before the vote. This is what the Trump team has been up against, okay? So people need to understand that, because that context really matters. So yes, people on the left, they have no idea. When I say the left, I'm talking about normal, average people, Facebook friends, just your normal on the street people. They have no idea what's actually going on with the lawsuits. They talk about 30 lawsuits have been thrown out this week by Trump. His team only did a few lawsuits. Republicans did lawsuits. Certain individuals did lawsuits. Certain people involved with the states did lawsuits. Those were not Trump's lawsuits. And no, they were not thrown out like people say. They were never declined on merit, okay? Except one in Pennsylvania, right? And that one is ridiculous. But just to save time, we won't get into it. But they were never declined on merit or content. It was all on procedural grounds. So the Democrats are arguing that Trump committed a crime when he called in and talked to the Secretary of State, Georgia. That's the big thing. Trump committed a crime. Can you believe what Trump or whatever names they call him? Can you believe what he's doing? He's trying to overthrow the election. People, no. No, he's not. People who say that, especially if they're in politics, they're just lying to you. They're deceiving you, okay? Because they're in they know that he's not doing that. It's clear and obvious when you listen to it can't be more clear when you listen to the entire hour-plus phone call, which I did, okay? So no, he's not trying to overthrow the election, all right? The Democrats' claims are absolutely false, and I mean false. All right? There is nothing about interfering with the election with this, all right? It was all discovery. It was all Trump saying, hey, we have these evidences. We've seen this. We've seen this on your guys' end. Can we get your lawyers to talk to our lawyers? We'll work it out and see what we can find here, okay? You get it? And when they were talking about, well, Trump said, hey, look, I only need these 11,000 plus votes. They're making it sound like he's in there going, hey, all I need is 11,000 plus votes. What do you say? I'll give you a little something, something. You give me the votes, huh? Like a little deal, right? You pull up, I'll talk to you in your window. No cops are around, and I'll give you the cash. You give me the stuff. They're making it sound like that's what he was doing. Wrong. Nope. Not what he was doing. When you listen to the actual context of the video, he was saying, now we really can see by the evidence we have and the research that we've done and all these people that we brought on board to investigate this stuff, that in this area, it gives us over 11,000 votes. That's all we need. And when he said we only need these amount of votes, what he was saying, he goes, I don't want to pursue this area and this area and this area, which we feel will give us even more votes, because that's not what's important. We just need to at least show that we actually won the state, right? According to what Trump believes. Whether he's right or wrong, that's according to what he believes, and that is all he was saying. Save time, save money. Why go through all that when this is really all we need? But, of course, the media, they cut that clip, strung it together with some other clips, and made it sound like it was something completely other than what it really is. And that is how the media lies. And people are buying it. Why? Because they're low information, and they don't care to check it out for themselves because it's confirmation bias, and it is way easier to fit into the crowd that believes it as well than to actually be right. They don't really care about being right. They just want to think that they're right. And as long as their peers and their circle of people hug them and bring them in too, they're good with it. They're fine. Okay, so Trump is just trying to win the election through every constitutional and legal means he has before him, everyone possible. Yes, he is actually in the right throughout this entire vote. This is the constitutional process. Okay? It's just we usually don't see it playing out like that. So it feels really weird to us, but it's not unconstitutional. It's not illegal, and it is not wrong. Okay? Now, I don't know that if there is enough evidence or even enough actual votes to overturn the election. I don't know. I don't know that. There may not be. But then again, there absolutely certainly could be. And half the country believes it. So why not play ball? Just say, hey, you're right. Let's look at all these evidences you have. Let's actually have the courts take these up. Let's see what we've got. Let's lay it all out. Your people will talk to our people. If it finds out that, oh yeah, look, you actually don't have enough, it really is a win for Biden. Most Trump people, except the most ardent fans, most Trump people will accept it and say, okay, cool, I guess he won. They'd be cool with it. They won't like it, but they're not going to act like the left and fall on their knees and scream at the stars and like all this verbal diarrhea you see coming out of all these lunatic, irrational people who can't use logic or reason. All they can do is just reaction and explode from just emotional response. So no, they wouldn't do that. And it's not illogical and it's not irrational to say, hey, let's actually lay this stuff out and see what we have here. That is the way you would heal the country. Joe Biden, that is the way you would bring unity. But you refuse to, and you still chide away at Trump supporters while you're at it. So no, you don't care a rat's ass about unity. And I'll talk about that in a different video. So the Democrats are arguing that Trump committed a crime. You know, like I said, I listened to the entire audio. No. There is no crime Trump is doing. He's not strong-arming anybody. He's not threatening anybody. The claims of the Democrat, as I said, they are false. There was nothing about interfering with the vote in that phone call. It was all about discovery. I just said that a minute ago. I'll say it again. Trump was trying to save money. He was trying to go for the low-hanging fruit just to get enough votes for what he needed. To say, hey, let's just look at this and this. That will overturn it for us. It will prove it to you. We'll show it to you, and we'll be good. But I bet the media hasn't told you that, have they? That's not how they framed it, have they? No. And if you're one of the people that are listening to this, I know that what I'm saying can piss people off and the way that I'm saying it and so forth, but I really don't want to alienate you. I really don't. Like, I really do want people to come together and talk about it. But the thing is that if you're not taking the opportunity to actually listen to things, take off the bias lens that you have, just listen to it objectively as somebody from the outside are listening and saying, okay, what's really being said here? Then I don't know what kind of conversation we can actually have because you're refusing to actually listen to it. Trump is not wrong on this. Now, I'm not saying he's right I absolutely know for a fact that he does have enough votes to overturn it, but I'm saying he's not wrong in what he's doing. Completely legal, completely constitutional. This is the process. Okay? So, yes, is Trump trying to win? Of course he is. He's trying to win through every constitutional and legal means possible. You know, like I said, he's actually been in the right throughout this entire vote and this entire process. You know, I mean, he's got well over thousands of signed affidavits under penalty of perjury. There's lots of evidences out there that are not being seen and not actually being examined and looked at. Okay? Business Insider, they said that Trump is tampering with the election. Guys, they're lawsuits that are contesting the election. That's not tampering, all right? None of the evidence of tampering has come from the right. I think maybe there's one person in Arizona that tampered with 2 votes or something like that, but it's not coming from the right. Okay? It is the right thing for Trump to do what he is doing if he has the evidences, which he and his team and other people that have brought lawsuits, they have. Okay? We know that states have done things unconstitutionally. We know that states like Pennsylvania went against their own state constitution and the way they operated. We get that. We know that the judge judged the way that he did because of bias. We know that. That's not arguable. That's not on the grounds to sit there and argue about back and forth. That we know, okay? So what Trump is doing is actually right. Is it enough to overturn it? I'm not saying that, but it is right. So why should anyone who's been so unfoundly crucified for 4 years, right? Ridiculous impeachment trials, claims of collusion with Russia, which were proven to be false with the Steele dossier and all this. They're after him because he does not fit the establishment. All right, that again, that will be a separate video. But if he believes that he actually won, why not fight through every means possible? If it was the other way, remember Hillary Clinton told Joe Biden, "Don't you dare concede under any means at all." If it was the other way around and Biden believed he won, believe me, they would be doing the exact same thing. That is the hypocrisy here. And that's where people don't think and realize that, oh, okay, yeah, I guess Trump really isn't doing anything wrong. And if we were in the same position, we would be doing the same thing too, because we want to win. And as long as it's in the legal means and it's the way that it's been laid out in the Constitution by the founding fathers, then sure, go for it. Both sides. That's the process. The process, the vote, the integrity of the system is more important than Joe Biden. It is more important than Donald Trump, okay? But that's what's being crapped on by the left. Because it's not the right that is doing anything illegal, unconstitutional, or wrong. It's the left impeding on it this entire time and creating false narratives that the culture at large is believing. Okay, so for Trump not to pursue these things would actually be very, very illogical. So you see, this is where the Democrats absolutely need, and I mean they need, low information constituency. I've said it in previous videos, I'll say it again. That's why they're pushing to have the voting age to 16. Not because 16-year-olds by and large are intelligent enough in the ways of economics, civil liberties, world economics, and so forth to cast an educated vote. It's because they're influenced by tons of influencers around them through curriculum and educational system to influencers in entertainment, music, media, sports, and so forth. The Democrats know that these young people, they'll most likely vote for them. And they want the votes. They want the power. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to in regard with them and everything they're pushing about Trump as well. Okay, the left is incredibly cunning and they're conniving. The right, for the most part, is just, as far as I'm concerned, listless. And by right, I mean Republicans. Listless, useless, spineless, feckless. Now, there's a few in there that are great. But for the most part, they just basically try to get in and interfere with the machine a little bit with the Democrats, with things that they try to push through their incredible aggression. And after they upset them enough, then they finally just roll over and say, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and give you that. And then they do the same process with the next thing. And what is going on with it, turning from light to dark here in the lens or in the camera? Whatever. We're rolling with it. We're going with it. This is Candid, right? This is part of the Candid series. We're just going with it. This is unscripted. Now, I will say that, so yeah, just to back up a quick moment. The left knows, by left I mean the Democrats and the media, because they had this information. They know that they've taken everything out of context, but they do it deliberately, and that's to drive anger and hatred that they've manufactured in those that never question them. The low information voters. And if you are one, I don't hate you, know that, but by God, please do your own research. That's why so many people from the left have shifted to the right, or at least have gone, libertarian, just to not vote for Democrats because they see what's going on. Folks, I mean, I listen to the hearings. I listen to the audio. I do my own research. I go back and I listen to the original speeches or the original press conferences where things are taken out of context. And that's where I can look back and say, oh yeah, okay, they're wrong. You have that ability too. You got that thing up here and you're coking it and you can use it. And it'll actually, it'll hurt your system of belief, right? It won't feel good, but come on, you can do that. You can do it. You can do it. Okay, now I don't necessarily like in the conversation how on the phone call how Trump, and I use bullied in quotes because that's what the left is, bullied. the way that he used some of that with Rafflesberger and so forth, and in Georgia with the people that he was talking to, because it didn't really feel good. I kind of, when I listened, I was like, oh, I don't know if I would have said it like that, like saying, if you don't do this, you're not gonna get voted in again, things like that. And I'm like, yeah, he's not wrong, okay? It just didn't quite feel professional or presidential, as people like to use it. I just didn't like that. But that's just because it didn't feel good. It doesn't mean he's actually wrong. He's not. The point is that Trump wasn't wrong in this, okay? There was nothing illegal. He's pursuing the right and correct means in the pursuits he's taking for the means that he wants. Nothing is wrong with it. The only ones who are in the wrong here, okay, the only ones, and they actually do look bad because they're in the wrong, are the Democrats and the media pushing this thing, and the people on the street level, Facebook friends, various people who comment and things. The stuff that they post, some of it is just the most ignorant messages and memes, and all it does for people who actually know the facts because they've listened to it and they understand the context. We sit back and we look at it and we're just like, all it does is prove how out of touch with reality you are. I'm not judging you by it. I know many of these people. I love them. But I'm like, you just don't know. And it's not because I voted for Trump, and so it's like, you voted for Biden, therefore you're an idiot. No. It's literally, you don't know. And what's worse than that, you don't care to know. Because you're happy, right? You're happy in the, what's the word that I'm looking for? Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and just keep thinking of a word, but anyway, whatever. Sorry, but you're happy and just in that lethargic place, and you just don't really want to know, and it's very, very sad. It really is, because you're literally casting a vote for people you don't understand and things you don't understand because you don't know. Now there are some people who know. We just have a difference of opinion, and that's one thing. That's different. But then there's people who just don't know. Okay. And you're just ignorant. So reality, they're just out of touch with reality. They do not know what they're talking about, yet they spread their fodder without any pain of consequence or conscience. It's silly. So people, there's the skinny. Listen to it in context. Get your, come up to your own conclusion with it. But listen to the clips that were said. Look at what people are saying in media. Then listen to it in context. Decide for yourself. Is it out of context or is it not? I know where I stand on it. I'm very clear. Yeah, it was taken out of context. But listen to the context yourself and see what you think it means. But I'll tell you, just like that scene in Princess Bride when, it says, Inigo Montoya says to Fezzik, because he keeps saying, inconceivable, he says, you keep using that word. I do not think that word means what you think it means. Same thing here. Word, concept, media, outlet, whatever. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Come on, people. You can do this.